everyone to Let's Talk About Opera. Today I am here with a very special guest. He's a graduate from McGill and will be opening the OSM season as Rouleau in Pilas and Mélisandre next week. Please welcome Philippe.
Hey.
Could you start by telling us how is it to work abroad as a young emerging artist after having been trained locally?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of getting used to, obviously. It's a very strange thing from having your whole life based in one city, one small, like, well-defined community of musicians, and Montreal's great that way. It's a small town with a huge percentage of arts going on. And moving from that to being all over the place and having, in a way, no home is very, very strange. And you start realizing how the classical music community is one that's everywhere. So wherever I go, whatever city I'm in, there are people that I already knew from another gig. But it takes a lot of getting used to. It's very strange not having this sort of this kind of grounding community that you're based out of all the time.
So within that, how do you balance your personal relationships with your job being on the road?
You're starting with that question?
No, but I'm saying, like, I forgot to tell you before, but I mean my personal relationship, I don't mean like it could be family and friends.
Of course, no, I know. It's a very good question because it's like the hardest thing. No, yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out because like I was telling you earlier, I split my life between living in the city, working in the city, and living in the country. And for me, that's an important balance to strike. Now, with regards to relationships, obviously in the country, I'm able to be with my family, and I spend a lot of time with them. And right now, they are my rock. My brother is, in a way, the most important person in my life. And we're very close in age, so thankfully, I can spend a lot of time with him. But to maintain a sort of a romantic relationship in the context of this sort of work is very, very difficult because not many people would want to find themselves with someone who's away more than 50% of the time. So, it's not a balance that I've exactly struck or found in any capacity, but right now I'm focused on what I'm doing and I'm very happy in my work, and it's feeding me enough for me to be more than happy. I'm very, very...
And you sang in a production...
Sorry, I sang... Go.
No, it's fine. You sang in a production of Les Notes di Figaro last June at San Francisco Opera.
Yeah.
How is it to work with new colleagues on stage?
Oh my God, it's always very exciting. It's very frightening as well because the only thing that you end up seeing of them before you meet them, you see like whatever, it might be these DVDs that have come out or YouTube videos or whatever. And some of my colleagues are... In this particular production of Figaro, I was working with Luca Pizzaroni. He was singing the Count. However, he's well known for having sung Figaro for almost 20 years. He is the defining Figaro of the last 20 years for sure. So, and this was my first Figaro, and I'm here beside him. He's done it like hundreds of times. So obviously I was very, very nervous. And the first thing I said to Luca as soon as I saw him, I was like, Luca, I have to give you a hug. Before I even introduced myself, he knew who I was, and he was so lovely. He was so lovely.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure he would be so pleased to see you perform as Figaro to pass on advice.
Oh, totally, and he was totally. I told him, Luca, anything, tell me anything you see, just tell me. I'm giving you permission, and which is great. And he told me lots of stuff.
Yeah, nice. So, how do you adapt working with a pianist for, let's say, recitals, as opposed to an orchestra for opera productions?
Well, those two processes are very different. But I think that it's interesting that both of those processes find common ground in the work that you do alone. Because being an artist is a very lonely job in the sense that all this preparation you do, whether it be for an orchestra or for even working with a pianist, is that you're spending this time working on this music, working on the poetry, working on the diction, working on all these things alone first.
I know.
and you have to be comfortable and confident that the decisions you can make by yourself are the ones that will lead you in the right direction. So I think that's what brings the two together. And I've always thought that opera and work that you do with orchestra, that sort of singing that you do, which is much more declamatory, more, I don't want to say bigger singing, but it's more, it's definitely, it's for a bigger audience, it's for a bigger hall, and you have to, sing over the orchestra. That sort of singing helps the leader singing, helps keeping the voice pure in the leader singing. And the refinement that you do in the leader repertoire will help you in defining what you need to define in the opera. So they're very complementary.
And when you are singing and in an opera house, how is it different than singing in a school production like you did at McGill?
You know, it's actually not that different. You know, because you're singing for an audience, you're singing with an orchestra, there's a conductor there. All the elements are the same. And at McGill we were blessed because in a way, the opera program at McGill was very much run like a company. So we benefited from the reality of that situation.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could say the stakes are higher. At McGill I wasn't getting paid, you know. But to me, it's the same thing. It's the same endeavor, and it's a personal work. You're going out there trying to, you're there singing against yourself in a way every night, whether it be in an opera house or in a school production. You're there trying to constantly get better and discover the music as if it was new every night.
And in this lifestyle that you told me about earlier, how are you able to maintain a healthy routine to be able to perform as much as you do?
The thing is, I think adaptation is the key word here because you're constantly improvising. Every situation that you're in is going to be different. So you have to be able to radically accept it at every turn. You know, there are some people, myself included, sure, there are certain routines that you maintain. There are certain things I like to eat before I perform. I know that the days before I perform, I do nothing. Or the days of a performance, you know, I'm not doing anything. You know, and with regards to keeping just in physical shape, you know, because when you're on the road all the time, you're staying in hotels and you're eating in restaurants. It's hard to, no, really it is. So, and for me, I just thought, well, I need to walk as much as possible, and I hike. I do what I can, depending on the situation, but adaptation and improvisation is.
Yeah.
And yoga.
You're one of those.
I don't do it as much as I should. Yoga and meditation.
Do you do hot yoga?
Oh, I haven't done any hot yoga.
No? Okay.
No. I need to do much more yoga.
Yeah.
I just know every time I do it, I feel so much better when I'm on stage afterwards.
Or you should do dancing.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm going to be in a production in 2 years in the Paris Opera where I'm going to have to be dancing the entire time.
Oh my goodness.
You know, so, and we're working with the choreographer for 3 months before the production opens, and then we have to go to Brussels a few times before then to train and become dancers and singing. I don't know how this is going to work, but I need to be in tip-top shape before I do this thing. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
And what was your first role in a non-school opera production, and how did you get ready?
My first role, I sang in the chorus of the Opera Lyric chorus in Ottawa before I went to school. My first role, though, must have been at the Canadian Opera Company. I'm trying to remember which one was the first one.
Because there were too many.
No, there were a few. I'm trying to get the order straight. I remember I sang a role in Les Contes d'Hoffmann, Hermann. That was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of physical. I think it would have been. That was one of them. Sorry, I can't answer.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So how are you off stage? Like when you're done a role, what do you do to come back to just being Philippe and not getting caught up in the character?
I know, it is kind of strange. You know, after you finish a show, like right at the end of the opera, you have all this energy, like, oh my god, I just did this thing. And you're on this high, and then suddenly you're confronted with these people and want to talk to you and express how they felt about the whole thing, and then you have to get out of this weird place, ethereal place that is that of performing, which is very almost transcendent sometimes, you know. And in describing this, I've forgotten the question. What was the question again?
It was how are you off stage? Like how do you come back to just
how do you do that? I don't know. And it's weird. It takes time, you know. It's a weird thing because I think what brings you back are really your friends and family that you see after the show and your colleagues. You know, you go to sleep thinking about it. You don't really. I need to sleep to come back to reality. You know, really, it's really like that.
Yeah. What are tips you have gotten and use now as your career is taking off?
Oh, okay. That tips that have been given to me. You know, not not to seek to please. It's a weird thing as a performer to decide, oh no, I don't want to please. It's to make your values the most important ones, so that your hierarchy is maintained, the hierarchy of importance of what you're trying to accomplish. And if you're always trying to please everyone, you will lose yourself entirely.
Yeah.
Especially in the rehearsal process of opera, where there are so many compromises, there are so many things going on at once with the conductor, the director, the head of music staff, the general director comes in, oh shit, and then the diction coach. So much is being thrown at you, and you want everybody to like you. You want everybody to approve of what you're doing. But if you make that approval your primary primary goal, you'll get lost in it. So you have to have this certain equanimity when you're working, and that you're still able to focus on one thing at a time and know your own process. Mm-hmm. So it's really, don't get lost. And I don't want to say be selfish, but be clear about what you need.
Yeah.
You know.
And what are some difficulties that you have encountered as an emerging artist?
Because I'm still at an age where my voice is still kind of changing in a way. Like it's still settling. It'll keep settling until I'm maybe 32, 33, 34. Is when I'm too old. And I feel that if I start making progress too quickly, I know that sounds strange to say that, but you end up hitting a plateau.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself in some sort of vocal crises in a way, because you don't have the tools yet to make it to the next level, because your voice might not have gotten there, or you might not have gotten there psychologically. So the hardest thing is being able to keep my steps incremental and being aware of those steps as they occur. Okay. Sorry. But it's a very tricky thing. It takes a lot of like.
And what composer made you discover classical music?
I guess it was Bach, because my dad had the Goldberg variations playing, the Glenn Gould, the 1984 version, playing all the time. Yeah, it was definitely Bach. I was quite young, but there was music playing in the house all the time. But there was also the Forrest Gump soundtrack, like Simon Garfunkel, Forrest Gump soundtrack, and Bach. That was like what I grew up with. Yeah.
And do you relate to other types of music?
Oh, totally. I mean, I played the trombone, and I was in a jazz band for a long time, and in a jazz combo. So, and it's funny, because when I was first told that, oh, you should check jazz out, I was like, no, classical music is the best. And I was like so proud of it. And then suddenly there was this jazz band, and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the way that you can improvise and be so in the moment and so individual in your style of performance, I think is now I'm realizing how much it's helped me in my classical music. Yeah. You know, my love for jazz.
And finally, what are your goals that you hope to eventually reach or achieve as an opera singer?
There is no goal. There is no finite goal. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My goal is to remain in a, not to remain, but to be constantly in a state where I can grow and transform, and be present with what I'm engaged with. So right now, for example, I'm working on Golo in Philippe and Mélisande.
Yes.
And for me now, that is the most perfect work of art that I've ever encountered. It is the best thing I've ever worked on, because I'm with it presently. Yeah. You know. So I would like to be able to remain in that state. I would like all the work that I do to be as precious as this is for me now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's my goal.
Yeah.
You know.
So thank
but
you.
I would like to have a better shirt.
We all do. Thank you so much for this interview. I wish you the best of luck in all your future projects.
Thank you for this.
And I'm sure I will hear great things from you. I'm going next week to the OSM.
I hope so.
I will post links of Philippe's performances so you can hear his beautiful voice. And for more information about tickets, you can visit philipslide.com, right?
Yes. Yeah. And for this particular show, osm.ca.
Yes.
Check it out.
So don't forget to comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next interview.
You have to change. Don't change. Be you. You know what I mean?
Alright, yeah.
Very free. And then you can edit it and do whatever you want.
I'm just a bit nervous.
No problem.
Alright.
I'm Phil.